Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Roll the Dice with Dave. Really glad to be back going live. It's been a while, so hopefully everybody can get a little something out of this conversation today. I'm really excited about the guest I have, somebody I met about 2 years ago, and I'm really excited to be reconnecting with this individual tonight. But before we get started, I hope everybody can go ahead and hit that like button down and go ahead and share the video. Go ahead and share it out there. Let's get people checking out this conversation tonight because it's a really important one, especially with the pandemic that recently is hit and that is going on. I think it is just super important that people tune in and get involved in this conversation. Also, don't forget to subscribe to Roll the Dice with Dave. You can do that on Facebook, and you could also do that on YouTube. So without any further hesitation, I'm going to go ahead and bring on my guest, Mr. Damien Greatheart. I think you have one of the coolest names I think I have ever heard in my life. It's good to see you tonight, my brother. How's everything going?
I'm doing well. Thank you. It's a pleasure for joining in tonight. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I watched a couple of episodes before. And I said, I got to get on. But I truly appreciate you for bringing me on tonight.
Oh, no. I tell you what, the honor and the pleasure is all mine. Do you mind just introducing yourself a little bit, kind of giving some people some background on who you are and even a little background on how we met?
Okay, so good evening, everyone, or good afternoon, depending on where you are in the nation or in the world. My name is Damien Greatheart. I am currently a 6-year college instructor or professor at Livingstone College. I also teach at Wake Tech Community College as well too. I'm from a small town called Cherryville, North Carolina. Here in North Carolina, I was born in New York City, but my grandparents raised me. I currently have a degree in bachelor's in computer information systems, a master's in information technology, and currently working on my doctoral degree in information systems, focusing in an area called HCI, also known as human computer interaction. So it's a little bit through time. I love to have fun, travel, and just learn new things. So let's get on how we met. Let's talk about Livingstone College, good old faculty meeting. It was a faculty meeting at Livingstone College, and that's how we ran into each other. I think it was with the training sessions. I think it
think
was
so.
something like
I
that.
think so. Yeah, something like
It
that.
was the training sessions, yes. That's how I began. Because one thing about me is I love to talk to anyone who's new at the college, anyone who just has free time to talk. And we spoke about. I think you said you were from Texas, right?
Well, I had been transitioning from Lubbock,
Yes.
Texas, but I also born and raised in New York City. I didn't know we had that in common. Um,
Wow.
yeah, so I was born in the Bronx, but grew up in the Upper East Side of Manhattan. I'm a project kid. Grew up in Wagner Projects. Yeah,
Really, Wagner?
yeah, I grew up in Wagner Projects. Yeah.
Wow.
So Wagner in the house. Yep, that's where I grew up. Upper East Side of Manhattan, man. New York, born and bred. But I traveled around a lot. Ended up in South Carolina. Ended up in North Carolina at ECU. Ended out in Lubbock, Texas. Ended in Salisbury. Right, then was in Salisbury, North Carolina. Now I'm in St. Augustine, Florida, at Flagler College. So, but I didn't realize we had that connection, man.
Wait, this might be crazy. I know there's an age difference, but do you remember in the summer times where they used to have this party called Wagner Day?
Yeah.
So as a kid, so during the summer times, my family would drop me off like at the end of May, because that's when school had ended in North Carolina, and that'll be the weekend I'll leave
You
after
were
the
so
Wagner Day party, because my family stayed in Manhattan. After the Wagner Day party, it was time to come home back to North Carolina. It'll be the whole family cookout right in front where the park's at and everything. So funny thing is, my family had a little apartment window right there by the park, so they would cook and bring food in and out at the window, or whatever like that. Wow. There was this corner store. I love it to death, because what happened was down here they don't call it that, but up there was a Hero, stuff like that. So I can go to
yeah,
the corner
man.
store in the middle of the night. I don't have to pay anything because they knew my family. Okay, cool. I know your family. They'll pay it at the end of the week. They will kick my family out. They'll kick me out of the house about 9 o'clock at night, 8 o'clock, because it's too hot in the daytime. Then you gotta come in about 3 or 4 in the morning. And you'll sit inside. I didn't know all that. See, now the
Oh
connections.
man, you know what? That's probably why we got along so good. It's just that unspoken, right? That unspoken
Yes.
connection that we had. But that's cool to hear, man. I didn't realize that. So that's good to know. Thank you for sharing that. But
Small
tell us a little
world.
bit more about yourself. I want to ask you something, and because I see you got the T-shirt on, and I know you have this great program revolving around STEM. Can you just tell us a little bit about that?
So the shirt's called the STEM Adventures of Greatheart, and what I did was one of my friends told me was like, "Yo, you just have like you do a lot in technology. Like, do you ever truly think about what you do?" I'm like, no. A lot of it is just having an imagination. A lot of things is just I was raised as a my grandparents raised me, so they raised me as a single child. Granted, I had a big backyard. I had no technology. I really didn't have technology until I really want to say probably when I was like middle school. So I grew up with a Game Boy and an imagination. So go figure. So over the time, like I said, like this was last year, so it'll be a year in August. I always love to talk about technology, different facts, different things. I do research. I look up like 2 things a day about technology, and I love talking to people about technology. It's a rare conversation to have because you're in computers? Yeah, I like computers. It's a rare thing to find people who are in your same field and major, especially in STEM. And I was a part of this organization. I still am. It's called NSF, National Science Foundation. And not last year before last, my student actually placed in first place in the research field in his area for STEM. And I was like, yo, he beat over 120 colleges. And I love talking about technology. Granted, I assisted him. I didn't do like the big lead work, but I kind of pushed him to the right area to go to. And the reason why I say that is because I love talking about technology. I mean, there's so much. There's never going to be an area where technology stops. There's always room to grow. And I love reading and developing about it. And I'm like, wait, I'm a doctoral student. I can talk about how I navigate through my doctoral program and how I view different technologies and things of this nature. And being an African American and also being a minority, you don't see a lot of people talk about STEM at all. And STEM is science, technology, engineering, mathematics. The original name was STEAM, but STEAM, the name hasn't caught up yet. So I stayed with STEM because, STEM is not one of them things that everyone picks up at the end of the day. I mean, like I said, I started at an area where country, like I'm so country where I promise you, like when I leave my house in the morning, if I was to go back to my grandfather's house right now, my cell phone would not work until I leave my grandfather's house 10 minutes down the
Oh,
road.
wow.
So, hey, come out and play. All them text messages is like when I got to middle school, I'll ride the bus. Oh man. Oh man. The basketball game. I would miss it. So for me, it's just like I want to give a platform for individuals who don't know about technology or STEM to really understand more about it because I wasn't exposed till I got to college. And ironically, my original degree path was psychology.
Oh,
So
wow.
do you remember Dr. Balagan?
No, I don't.
So Dr. Balagan was actually my department chair when he was there. And the funny thing about
Okay.
it was I took his class second semester, and that's why I changed my major because I was like, psychology is cool and all, but technology, I'd rather learn more about this. I mean, I wasn't exposed to it, but I was one of them kids where my mother would tell me to hook something up or figure this out, make it work. Okay, critical thinking skills, put it together. Oh, it was just you would change the channel. That's it. I promise you, that's exactly how I got to technology. No lie, my dad bought me this computer where I was in middle school, or yeah, middle school or like that, and it's still to this day, I think it's the most bad looking computer ever. I didn't want to cuss, but the best looking computer ever. I had a Hot Wheels computer, right? No lie, I had a Hot Wheels computer. The
Did it look
only
like the
time I could
cars?
play, huh?
Look like the little car, like the Hot Wheels cars?
Yes. I
Yeah,
had
that's
the
what's up, bro.
logo design on. I had the steering wheel, the pedals, everything, and I couldn't play no games on that computer until I finished the typing games. And the typing games to me was like, okay, just type. So ironically, I could type extremely fast. I could out type anybody, like professionally, my mother, anybody who's on the computer. I could out type you with one hand. So my mother, she's like, in order for you to play a video game, go sit down and do this typing thing for an hour. Okay, so every day for an hour, type. That's it. Mind you, this is my mother's house. I was raised with my grandparents, so in middle school, my mother had the computer, so that's when I started learning how to type. And to me, just typing was second nature. So in seventh grade, I actually broke my middle finger, and that was the funny part. So that's when I learned how to type with one hand. So I was typing all day with one hand pretty fast. Everybody was like, how do you type? I get bored, so I started learning how to type with one hand. So literally, I can text and do other things with my other hands well too, and work perfectly fine. So it's just like, oh, so ironically, I can literally type on 2 laptops at one time and still be perfectly fine. It's funny.
Man, that's crazy, man. Because I have trouble just with one laptop, right? Just I never really developed that skill. I know we were supposed to in typing class. You know, they put those
Mm-hmm.
things on it and all that stuff. I really type with these four fingers, so I literally sit
Really?
there and type with just these four fingers. It's a
Mm-hmm.
crazy thing. But I wish I had learned that skill because my kids type so much faster than I do, and I think about how productive I could be if I
Mm-hmm.
actually learned how to type the right way. So I want
See
to
the
jump
little
to the
things.
yeah, no, it's those tiny things. So I
Mm-hmm.
want to jump to this next little subject area before we really start digging deep into our conversation today. But I call it the review. I just want to know: is there anything that you've been checking out lately that you feel, man, I just got to tell people about this? I'll give you one thing that I didn't think I was going to be this hooked on it, and I'm hooked on it. I actually saw Cruella, right? The Disney movie Cruella, and I have a new appreciation for Cruella Deville, and I'm not so mad at her anymore for wanting to turn the Dalmatians in a coat. Let's just put it that way. If you see the movie, it will change your perspective on Cruella Deville. So my review with this is everybody needs to go see Cruella if they can, and you are going to see her in a totally different way. And by the end of that movie, you are rooting for her to get her Dalmatian coat. That, at least from my perspective. So I want to give you a chance. Is there anything out there that you've just, oh man, I just got to tell people about this?
At the moment, um, I do and I don't. And the reason why I say this is, I'll say this for anyone who has the free time this summer, read a book a month. And the reason why I say this is because if you don't read, it doesn't increase your vocabulary and it doesn't increase your imagination. A lot of us lose our imagination because we don't think. We don't think our own. We try to let society think for us, and we don't have that imagination aspect. So I have about 2 or 3 books I plan to read by the end of this month. So make sure you read. I think we forget about because we're so into our cell phones and technology that we don't pick up a good book. So I have about 3 or 4. They're laying around here somewhere, but I have about 3 or 4 books. I have one book I'm looking at right now. It's T.D. Jakes' "Don't Drop the Mic." I got that one
Don't drop the
recently.
mic. You know, I've heard that's a great book, man.
Yes, I can't wait to finish that. I have another book a coworker gave me. Actually, I'm gonna start that this week. It talks about athletes, how it's a slavery mentality. I read like a few pages thus far, and it's a great read because it really breaks down how the athletic system is not really meant for the athletes. How the college system, how we play all these sports, and it's not really meant for the athletes to develop. It's really meant for these coaches and these schools and have to have the fame going on. And actually, I agree with just reading the cover because at the end of the day, me being a previous college athlete, it's a business once you get to college. It's not about you as the individual. If you can't produce, you got to go. So
Yep.
my thing is just read a book, at least one book or one article, and increase your imagination skills because that critical thinking aspect and that imagination will get you far in life.
Yo, man, I tell you what, thank you so much for saying that because you just triggered something. I'll be honest, I don't read as much as I should, right? And maybe it's just because part of my job, I'm always reading just stuff, not necessarily a book, but stuff. So I'm glad you said that because now I'm sitting here going, you know what? I still got enough time in June. I need to go ahead and grab a book. So you actually said that. I'm gonna look at what book I haven't read and start. Actually, you know what? I already know what book I think I'm gonna go grab. I think I'm gonna go grab the Obama book. I think I need
You know
to
what?
grab the
That's my
Obama book. I
read for
haven't read it.
July. Yeah, that's my
Is it?
July read.
So you just inspired me to go grab a book and try and knock that bad boy out. So tomorrow I'll probably have the Obama book and knocking out some chapters in that because I admire him so much, not necessarily just from the standpoint of being president of the United States, but just how he carries himself as an individual. There's a lot of things he does as an individual, whether you're Republican or Democrat. I think people need to kind of put that aside. He
Hmm.
carries himself in a way that I think everybody can get a little something from this individual on the right way to carry yourself as a person. Um,
I agree
so,
completely. One thing I realized was, and there's a couple of things I have to work on myself as well too, but how he demands a room with his stature, and he lets people. Even though I do this a lot, I cut people off because I get so excited. But he lets you talk, get your things out. He'll sit there and have that moment to pause and think. Even the way how he articulates with his words and how he's very careful of his speech and his tone. I'm like, this guy's a robot. Like how? Like he has everything almost planned out to the T perfect. And that's just how his stature is. I'm like, wow, this guy is phenomenal. Even watching him debate in his speeches is very incredible. And he's also passionate as well, too. So yes, that's one of my books for July to read, honestly.
I like what you also mentioned. Listen, right? That's a hard skill. You know, God gave us two ears and one mouth so we can listen twice as much as we speak. But that's a hard thing for people to do, to sit and let somebody finish their process. I tell you, you're already dropping all kinds of jewels of knowledge that people can take from this, man. You were definitely one of the most inspirational people I met uh, at Livingstone College and actually in my life. So I'm really glad to have you on because I don't think you realize the impact that you have on people, and hopefully we can dig a little bit deeper on that. But before we do, I do want to ask you because I do follow you on social media, and I see
Mm-hmm.
that you are getting into the hot boy summer, right? So you're starting to go out and I do like to have this little segment, HTM highlights. I am a hospitality and tourism guy. Do you have any big plans as far as vacationing and going to do stuff? Because I know when I was at Livingstone, there were a couple of times it seemed like you did some really cool stuff as far as getting away. And even when I was transitioning away from Livingstone, you had some plans. You got anything planned now that I'm not going to say the pandemic is over and that things are back to normal, but we're heading that direction, right? We're trending that direction. What you got going on, man, as far as little hospitality and tourism?
So here's the thing about me. I'm very simple, and the reason why I say that is because I grew up in the country, in the middle of nowhere. I can make the littlest things have the most impact and fun. All you need is the right people. But what I decided to do before school starts this year, well, work rather, I'm going to go to Jamaica. I've never been out the country, like out of the country, out of the country. I'm gonna go to Jamaica. I plan to go paintball this summer, go karting, bowling, fishing. Fishing is one of the things I picked up the most during the pandemic because it was so relaxing. Like it is, it doesn't take much if you have the right people, some good music, a good time. Fishing. Besides that, that's really the big things: is paintballing, fishing, bowling, go karts in Jamaica. Um, that's just the things I love to do for like everyday fun and leisure. And Jamaica's gonna be the biggest, but between bowling and fishing, it really just having the right people around you. I'm gonna be very country with this one. I love to stargaze. I love to stargaze. I'm from the
I don't think
country,
that's
so
country. I don't think, and you know what? I didn't mean to interrupt you, right? I was just
no, you're
talking about
fine.
this
You're
thing talking
fine.
about, right? And then I went ahead and interrupted you.
You're
But
fine.
I don't think stargazing is country. I think that being a fellow New Yorker, when I moved away from the city and actually had a chance to absorb, wow, this is what the sky looks like when you're not in the middle of a big city. I do it all the time. I go outside on the back porch or the front porch and just sit and look up, and I'm so thankful that I could see the stars and see all that stuff without the blocking of buildings. Now I love the New York skyline, but there's nothing like looking up and just seeing the stars
Yes,
at night.
yes. For me, I completely agree. I mean, I wasn't really in the country all my life, but like like I said, my grandfather raised me. I remember one time we got a telescope and we tried to figure out where everything was at. It was like, wait, something's coming tonight. We got to figure out where is it. And to me, it was the most funniest memory because we didn't know what we was doing, but it was so. I still remember this to this day, and it was like the most basic telescope ever. But we were just stargazing for the longest. We missed it for real because we was like 2 hours too early, but we were just looking at the stars, and just pointing around, doing everything. He still has these big fat binoculars. I remember still to this day. I promise you, I was 10 and I'm 30, and like we was just looking like, is that it? Is that the shooting star? 2 hours too early. I was like, okay, well, we'll watch it on the news tomorrow. So,
Yeah, that is awesome. That is awesome. Now I do have to ask. So I'm taking you've been paintballing before?
so I went for my birthday. So it was my dirty 30. So I decided to go paintball for my dirty 30. For me, I love to have fun, whether it's big or small. Paintballs is one of the things I always wanted to do. We talked about it a lot in Boy Scouts. I never had the opportunity to, so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do it. And ironically, for my birthday, if you go paintball at this spot, I forgot what it's called. It's this random town outside of Charlotte. If it's your birthday, you have to run this gauntlet, correct? So, whew,
And
the
then
gauntlet is
you.
yes. The gauntlet is when they shoot at you, and it was so scary because at first I was like, okay, I'm gonna make this. I ain't gonna get hit. After the first two hits, I was like, I don't want to do this no more, but I had to keep going. And so I have one of my favorite friends. She's like my play sister. She was like, all these times that we went out, because it was funny because every time me and my play sister go out to eat, I always get like extra fruit for some reason from the waitress. It's awkward. But for me, my play sister, she wanted like to have her own round with me. The owner gave her the most like best tested gun out there, automatic gun. When I say my whole head was swollen and whelped up, my body was so when I promise you, she hit me with about 40 rounds. But paintballing was the most funnest experience ever, especially with the people I went with. It always has to be the best people to go with. If you have a good crew of people, whatever you do in life is going to be a fun experience. I promise you.
Man, I love paintballing. Paintballing is a lot of fun. I haven't done it in a while, but my sons and I absolutely love paintballing. So I want to move to the next quick topic, and then after that, we're gonna start digging deep on the kind of the first gen college student discussion that you and I are going to have. But a buddy of mine asked this question of a lot of people on Facebook, and I never really thought about it. So I want to ask you this because I find that I do it all the time. When you're watching TV or watching any shows, do you have the closed captioning on or do you have it off? I notice I have it on a lot of times.
I actually
It's a
have it
random
on.
question, right? But he asked, and I was like, "That's a good question." Yeah,
I have it on, especially when I'm watching movies like on Netflix and stuff. Sometimes we don't catch everything that's there.
that's
Um,
why I have it on.
Cause it's like if you ever watch a movie, especially a dark movie, you might miss some kind of phrase. For instance, if you ever watch a Batman movie, there's always something in the phrase there with the movie or the riddle or whatever like that you will miss. And Guardians of the Galaxy or anything like that, any of the Marvel movies, all these characters have a dark, sinister twist, and sometimes reading the real terms behind what they do, like, oh wow, that does make sense. Thanos, I read his one time. I'm like, he's really not a bad guy. He's really a good guy who's just trying to save everyone from dying and starving out. Wow. So yeah, I have it on. Crazy to see. Oh, another series I watched, WandaVision. If you ever watch WandaVision and you kind of just like you think you missed something, you might have missed something, and the captions help out so much.
So,
So yes, WandaVision. Because I was watching that, I was like, wait, oh, this is what it means. Okay, yeah, I caught on because sometimes them little slurs and them little words they don't really try to put out there all big, you have to catch on to it. Yes, closed caption helps so much.
see, and it helps me because I have my wife, a dog, and 4 kids, right? So if everybody's at the house and I'm trying to watch something, so much commotion going on, I have to have the closed captioning on to be able to catch everything. So, but no, it just made me think. I was like, I gotta ask D that when we talk tonight because he threw it out there on Facebook, and for a while I thought I was one of the only people that did it, and I thought I was a weird one. I was like, I'm weird for doing this. Man, there's so many people that do it. So many people that do it. So, but I want to go ahead and jump into today because you and I had talked, and you were like, "Hey, I want to talk a little bit about first gen college students," and it's a topic I think that shows how much of a disadvantage first gen college students are, especially when we looked at the last year and a half with the pandemic. That the issues that started to arise or being brought to light, not just with students in general, but first gen college students navigating things they never had before. So before we get into kind of the deep aspect, do you mind kind of giving your thoughts or a little background on what made you want to talk about this topic? What was it that drew you to, hey, I need to pay attention to first gen college students?
I think we forget that still in society today, even though it's 2021, there are still people who are the first generation college students. There's no map, no guide, there's nothing out there. For me, I can play football. That's it. I don't know anything about college. I promise you I didn't. My whole church, I didn't know until after I went to college. They went to Winston-Salem State, Shaw University, college here, no, locally in North Carolina. But I was in an older church, so it was just like, okay, cool. we talk about college, but what is the process to get to college? What is the process to maneuver, navigate? I didn't know nothing. And I was one of the people that always ask questions. My mother told me, if you don't know it, go ask, go find out. But if I don't know, I'm going to ask you. Hey, what does this mean? My tuition, I owe $5,000. I don't have $5,000. How do I get money? I don't know. So my guidance counselor, I promise you, just, oh, you're going to go to, either community college, the military. Okay, I didn't care. That was one of my things. My football coach was one of the ones like, no, either you go to a 4-year college, play football, you need to figure this out. Okay, so he switched my pathway like middle of my junior year, and that's what led me to start being more serious about college. But the reason why I wanted to bring this conversation up, because a lot of people don't know how to really navigate or know the stress behind trying to figure out college. I mean, I was confused. I didn't know. If it wasn't for football, I promise you I would have made it, because football was that structure. Hey, be in your room by 9 o'clock. Make sure you go to study hall. Make sure you do this. Make sure you do that. Not saying I wasn't structured, but football was my structure. Like,
Hmm.
I had to be in study hall every day regardless, or we have to run extra. If you play football in the fall time in North Carolina, you already know running extra in the heat in August and September is not the move. You can do it in October, but August, September, you're gonna lose about an extra 5 pounds. It's not worth it. No, just
And
do what you need to do.
sometimes in October, November, it's that random hot day. Yeah, it's still going to kill you. It's still going to get you, man. So you mentioned something. There were just some things that students are just not going to know. It's particularly first gen. Can you give us some examples of some things in particular that, if you weren't playing football and having somebody walk you through the process, that you would have gone, oop, that would have gotten me right there. That might have been it for me, or that might have gotten me right there.
Talk to your professors, talk to the financial aid, talk to everyone you run into. Put a name with a face, greet somebody, talk hello. If it's the custodian, if it's the president, treat everyone the same, because you never know. I mean, for the custodian, for me, the custodian looked out, hey, do you need some toilet paper? I didn't know you supposed to bring toilet paper to college. I didn't know. I didn't know you need sour supplies. I didn't know small things. I didn't know if you talk to a professor, they can walk you through. My professors, like my football coach was like my own dad at school. Hey, do this, do this, do this. Funny thing, I'm gonna be honest with you, be very transparent. Washing clothes, hot water, cold water. I didn't know if you do this, it shrinks the clothes. I didn't know this. Why does my room smell so bad? There's socks over here from football practice that smell bad. Uh, having a pattern, having a routine, figuring things out. Hey, Saturday after the game, relax, go have a good time. Sunday, film, practice, relax, wash clothes, do any excess homework. If it wasn't for the structure, for me, I wouldn't have made it. I promise you, because my last semester in college, I didn't know what to do. I was so structured. That whole 3 hour gap for football practice, what do I do?
Oh wow!
The
I didn't
campus is
even think
open
about
for
that.
two
Yeah.
hours. What do I do? That last semester, for any athlete who doesn't go to a higher level, you're confused. You don't know what to do no more. It's just like, hey, you're going to practice. Oh, there's no more spring ball. There's no more anything. I mean, unless you do a spring sport, there's nothing for you to do. It's just like, oh, well, I don't want to do homework right now because I'm not used to doing homework. So ironically, what I ended up doing my last semester was just, going to go run, train, and work out. That's what I was just used to. So it was just having that structure, having someone say, hey, here's your schedule, do this. If you fall off that schedule, good luck. Because for me, I didn't have money for college. That was it. Okay, I got to do this. It's either this or go home. That's it. And that was my mindset, because at the end of the day, I'm like, okay, I made it to college. I have a 2.69. They accepted me. I'm gonna ride this out for 4 years. I'm gonna get me a career. That's it. If football doesn't work out, I'm perfectly fine. I'm going to get a career. That's it. Because I'm not going to Walmart. Look, that's all we had in my hometown. Walmart was just built in 2009. No, I'm not going to Walmart. So football it's always been a structure for me. But for me, it's just like, okay, I can't go home. I can't go to Walmart. And to be real with you, both of my father and my grandfather were both working for the state. My grandfather was a conductor and my dad was a sanitation worker. So to me, it was just like, okay, I gotta find my own path, because it's like, hey, they figured it out. it is what it is. So I gotta figure my own path too.
So I want to touch on something because you were like, hey, there were just so many things I didn't know. Having worked at Livingstone College, and you're at Livingstone College now, we both know there's a lot of first gen students that come through Livingstone College. There are a lot of students that, if not for Livingstone College giving them the opportunity to go to college, they probably would not be going to college. So there's a lot of uncertainty. I think we could both agree, but that was part of the attraction, I think, for both of us to do everything we could and help out. What do you think is the? I'm trying to think of the best way to ask this question. Your experience going through what you went through, how do you think that helps the student at Livingstone College who's a first gen going through these things for the first time? So how do you help? And I'm going to use, you said your dad was a conductor,
No, my
right?
grandfather.
Grandfather was a conductor. So
Yeah.
how does this help you serve as the conductor for them on that train through Livingstone, hopefully onto things after they get out of college? There was a lot in that question, man. I know there was a lot in that question, but
No, it's perfect. It fits. Don't look at every situation the same. And the reason why I said this, my grandfather taught me this. Because he was a conductor, you will greet people, you will talk to them, no matter what. And he's also a deacon, so I was raised in the church. So, you'll greet people, you'll talk to them in the face. So, with what I would do, no matter what, no matter how I felt, if you before you come in my class or my office, good morning, good afternoon, how you doing? If you don't
mhm.
respond, we're gonna try this again until it works. And the reason being is because now if you have an attitude, okay, I'm gonna pull you to the side, you're gonna talk to me, what's wrong? Because communication is key. And you never know what's going on with the student at home or back in the dorm room. So I didn't know I was so influential, had a strong influence my first semester. Um, I'm in my office one day, right? I have the biggest office in Ballard besides the department dean, the dean of my department. I have the biggest office,
So wait,
and
you have the largest office besides
Dr. Sharma.
Dr. Sharma because his
I
office was
promise
pretty
you.
big.
Yeah. So, and it's pretty incredible. My past chair, that was her office. So it's pretty cool to be in the past chair office and I'm sitting in her office.
That's legit though, man. But you know what?
Yeah.
That's a testament to who you are. Because in that short time I was there, I don't think I ran into a student that didn't know your name. Right? I don't think I
That's
ran
the
into a student
crazy
that didn't know
part.
your name. Because whenever any student talked about any issues or hey, who can help you out, they were like, man, great heart, great heart. Because I remember I was like, great heart, man, that's that real big dude, right? Because I know I had crossed your path only a couple of times because I
Mhm.
was on the hospitality campus, right? So we're kind of separated from that. But I don't think I ever ran across a student that didn't know your name, man. That's just a testament to who you are as an individual.
It's one of them things where you have to treat every situation different because you don't know if Billy or Susan or whatever. Because another thing is Livingstone recruits students from so many different areas, but we don't know their real story. So I have the ability to teach students in computers and society, which is the introduction class. Then I have the ability to teach students in my major, but you never know why the student's acting this way. I mean, I had a student who failed my class 3 times. I promise you, 3 times.
Oh
And the
wow.
fourth, and the fourth time she took it, she was all hot in the face. But when she graduated, I'm proud of you. But she was like, "Oh my God, are you serious?" I'm like, "Yeah." I wasn't gonna let you pass this class without, getting by. Because in life you can't get by. And now, she has a daughter, a great boyfriend, and she has a great career. And she just started her own business. I watch her, I'm like, okay, yeah, you doing it. I told her I'm proud of her, and she's like, "Are you serious?" I'm like, "Yeah." Life is stressful. Look, once you graduate, that safe haven of college is done. Like you move on from life. So and it's just phenomenal to watch people grow. I had a student, to go back to the first situation, my department chair did not warn me about this at all. This was like the second month of me teaching. And you learn more about yourself outside of the classroom than you inside the classroom. There's this girl, I remember her clear as that she had the highest GPA in my department. She had like a three, no, she had a 4.0. She had ended up with a 3.9 something, but she had a 4.0. She came to my office one day, sat down. She never talked, but she sat down in the office one day, busted out crying. I'm like, "Do you want to talk? Are you good?" She just shook her head and say nothing. She would sit there for 10 minutes, walk out, that's it. She did it for a whole week. So I went to my doctor, my department chair, my doctor, Dr. V was like, "Hey, this student, She never opens up. She just does her work and leaves. I was like, so why is she coming to my office? She's been your student. Yeah, I don't know why she goes to your office for. He was like, I don't know what to tell you. Just you have to figure it out. Okay, cool. So about 2 weeks later, after this process happens and stuff like that, I end up talking to her, actually getting her to open up. And I'm like, okay, cool. Are you all right? She's like, yeah, just tired. All this work stressful, and it's just a lot going on. She was a first generation too. So after talking to her, I understand she, sometimes go without eating. She doesn't have the proper help at home, and a lot of stuff she's just learning on her own. So we end up talking a little by little after a while. And it's one of them things where you can't force it. It has to be natural. You have to let her open up in her own given time. So it was just like, wow, when I promise you, she never talked to anyone on campus. She never did. And people's like, you got her to talk? Yeah, she just. But it was so magnificent to watch her grow over that extra year, teaching her how to professionally dress, get a professional page, all this stuff. It was amazing because it's rare to see somebody blossom and grow once they open up to you as an individual.
Yeah, no, and I wanted to put this up. This was a former guest I had. Now we're becoming buddies, right? We follow each other, but
Mm-hmm.
the stressors of college. When you're in college, you think it's just the worst thing ever, right? So, can you imagine being a first year college, a first gen college student, how stressful that is? And then you look at it years later, and hopefully you're like, oh man, I wish I could have those. Like Joel's saying, I think about it now, and I love being a husband. I love being a dad. I love my job, but I think back to the stresses I had in college. That was nothing compared to what I have now, right? So it's just crazy to think about. But for that first year college student, that's the weight of the world, not just from the aspect of, oh man, I'm doing all this stuff, but it's the first time they're experiencing these things, and they don't have anybody they can a lot of times reach out to
Lead
and
to.
say, hey, mom, dad, when you were in college, was it like this? I keep telling my kids how lucky they are and that they could pick up the phone. Not only did I go to a big time school, I went to the University of South Carolina and Texas Tech, but I'm also a college professor, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I deal with these situations every day as part of my career, and I have a chance to uh, impart my thoughts on the college process and give them a little insight, and also help them kind of decipher the BS that they may get
Mm-hmm.
from administration and all of that stuff. So yeah, Joel, the humble brag right there, yeah. But I remember those days, where the big stress. Hey, where are we going to go party? But then there were other aspects of, and I want to touch on this a little bit for those first gen college students that maybe were working at home to help just keep the lights on, keep food on the
Yes.
table, and now they go away to school. The guilt if they have to spend some money, maybe to give themselves a release and find where the party at, right? And they go out to eat and have a couple of drinks, what that means potentially for the family they left at home.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk a little about that experience? Have you dealt with that yourself, and have you dealt with students that have experienced that? And yes, Joel, I don't mind bragging on myself. I do have a PhD. I worked hard to get it, so I don't mind bragging every now and then on it. You know what I'm saying?
Um, what I have to do is think about what I have to do is think about the times where for me, well, I'll touch on a couple of students real quick. Um, Last semester, I dealt with a couple of students who just came out and said, "Hey, look, I can't come to class. I'll be honest with you, I have to work full time. I just can't do this online right now. I got other courses." I told them, "Look, are you interested in college? Yes, I gotta do college. I gotta get out for my family. All right, you work with me, I work with you. I don't care what your time, your schedule is free. Let me know. We'll work and we'll move forward." Okay, cool. Da da da. So I had one student. We knocked out all the work in one day. We knocked out 16 assignments. I mean, 16. We sat down for 3 hours, knocked it out. To understand that if you have a life at home, if you have a family, if you have kids, you have to support your family. And if you're willing to work with me, let me know. And the reason why I said it is the person's working two jobs. And I respect your grind. If you do this, if you do my course, contact your professors. Let them know at the end of the day, it is what it is because we don't know. You come up with this excuse, but if you really work a job, I mean, I had a student who literally set her phone up, while she's at McDonald's, flipping burgers, and she was just listening to the course. I was like, hey, look, cut your camera off. I'll contact you. Put your email in the chat. We'll figure this out because we're really still in a pandemic and people out here losing jobs. Fortunately, I had a student who lose her mother and her father during the pandemic. I can't. I'm still human. I don't know what to tell this student whatsoever. To lose your mother and your father in a pandemic within a month time frame, I don't know what's up here. I don't know what to tell you because up here I know psychologically you're gone because it's okay. This is a whole different situation. And this is the stuff where you don't know how to teach because this is what you're not taught, for your 4, your 8 years, or your 12 years in college. Either you have empathy or you give them the F, one of the two. So I was like, hey, look, I told her straight up, look, this is what you need to do. Withdraw from this semester, take the time to yourself, college is for you, but it's not right now. That's why I think people forget sometimes being a professor. You're a professor, but you're trying to lead a student to graduate and learn and grasp more skills. There are some things you can teach a student to grow as well too. However, sometimes you have to step aside. Hey, come here. We're going to talk. We're going to figure this out. Like I said, that blew me. I mean, the students sent me the obituary and everything. I was just like, I'm dumbfounded. Like, I didn't even ask for this information. So that's what I said earlier. It's a case by case situation. I never got mad at students saying, hey, I'm at work, da da da, because I don't know. You could be lying to me, telling the truth. You bear that cross at the end of the day. You make that bed, you gotta lay in it. So it was a lot this year. I had a student one time. They killed off their parents several times. Their parents was perfectly fine. Like I said, you bear your crosses, you have to bear at the end of the day. So for
And one of
me,
the things, I'm sorry, Dave, D, I didn't mean to
you're good,
interrupt you right
you're good.
there.
You're good.
I think a lot of times faculty just forget what it was like, right? And I've never forgotten. And one of the things I've never forgotten is, I was put on academic probation and actually told not to come back to the University of South Carolina, right? So now I'm a department chair, and it's crazy because there's a lot of times I look at students and I see myself in those students, and that college was for me, right? College was for me, but not necessarily at that particular moment in time.
There you go.
I preoccupied myself with all the wrong stuff at that moment in time. And there are a lot of students that have that, even if they are not a first gen. And I wasn't a first gen. My dad got a college degree, but in a different way. My dad went to John Jay College of Criminal Justice in New York City, a different type of college experience for my dad, where I went away to the University of South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you have family that went to big time colleges, there could still be a gap. And for the first gen college student, it's even more of a gap, right? It's even more of a gap. And I think a lot of times faculty are so concerned with coming off as, I'm faculty, I have to be this way, and forget to be human and empathetic and not look at the situation for what it is. Because a lot of times I feel it's majority of the students are not trying to get over that there is something that genuinely is impeding the process. And it's usually not their brain power or their academic ability.
Mm-hmm.
It's something else that's getting in the way. So I'll kick it back to you. I didn't mean to interrupt, but you were just touching on some things that I went, got to have more people that are understanding in these roles, because we're not just trying to develop. I'm not just trying to develop a professional in hospitality. I'm trying to help a young man or a woman develop into hopefully somebody who is going to be just a good person for having been in my presence. I hope I'm coming off the right way versus just as skill development, right? So
I'll be honest with you. I had an interview panel session, and the funny thing about it is the people who all interviewed me was everyone who taught me at one point in time or another. And the funny thing is about it, one of the people who asked me a question or interview was the individual who kicked me out of his class twice. And if anybody who knows me, when I was in college, I was the nerd. you're not about to say a fact that I didn't know out that book or that chapter. I was studying. So the first time I got kicked out was my first time during summer school. Not because I was doing bad, because I had nothing to do during summertime. So hey, I could be at school. I can, have 3 meals. I can, do summer school. I can, be with my friends. Why not? Summer school is pretty fun. Yeah, after Thursday, have fun with my friends. I already know how to hang out in Salisbury. So the professor kicked me out of class for answering too many questions, and I still brag about that to this day. He kicked me out for literally. I answered like 4 questions in a row. It
No,
was
I ain't
only
never heard no
5
shit
of
like that,
us.
man. That's crazy.
It was
I'm gonna kick you out of class for answering too many questions.
it was
Uh,
only 5 of us. It literally was only 5 of us, and nobody wanted to ask questions. When I say you're not gonna outlearn me in class, that's how I felt. So I was just raising my hand. So he was like, "If you raise your hand one more time, I'm gonna, kick you out. I'm gonna tell your football coach."
that's the craziest shit I've ever heard, man.
So this is a 2 hour long class in the middle of the summertime on a Tuesday. I'm sitting in class like I know the answer. Like I studied already. I know what to do. Like he gave me a B anyway. I was still upset, but I know what I got. But anyway, so he ended up giving me a B, but he kicked me out. He told my football coach. My football coach is like, I've never disciplined anyone to answer too many questions. I don't know how to deal with this either. So he told me, write your essay, and go back to class, and don't answer no more questions. Okay, yeah, awkward, but yeah. But it was funny because when he interviewed me, he was just like, "So I understand that you're a young faculty member. How will you conduct yourself here? Professional? Like this is my first career. I'm already nervous now. Like this is my first career. I got to dress up in a suit. So, come on now, just." But it was funny because I feel like some people forget, hey, you was on this other side once before too. Don't make it bad for the person who's coming behind you, because at the end of the day, you don't know what this person can bring to the table. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. And one of the things that I really appreciated in my time at Livingstone, even though it was short, was the love I felt from so many of the students there. I think because uh, I didn't come off as the holier than thou like professor, right? And also they got a chance to see that they could end up successful. Like where you start is not the most important thing. It's where you're going to finish this race, and that it's okay to ask for help along the way. Because I always said, hey, I didn't make it here by myself. I was on academic probation, which my man Joel mentioned. He was on academic probation too, right? So that's why we're kindred spirits, brother. But you have this academic probation situation. You're told, hey, don't come back. But then you come back and you succeed. But along the way, I had some very influential professors that helped me navigate when I returned. And they say, hey, we know you had some academic issues, but they based their judgment of our relationship at that moment in time. And that's a hard thing, I think, for a lot of first gen students to deal with, because if they have no frame of reference of what college life is supposed to be like, no frame of reference of how to approach sometimes a college professor, that is a skill set that they end up kind of floating around in limbo. And I could see where some of the students at Livingstone, they had nobody to reach out to. My door was always open, right? My door was always open. My door was never closed. It was literally always open. Jordan Walker, right? So Jordan was always in my office, along with a lot of other students. And there would be times where they weren't coming to really discuss anything college related. They were just coming to sit and hang out and chill and talk because that's what they needed, right? And that first gen college student sometimes needs that.
Need
And
that.
and I don't know if Jordan was a first gen college student. I might be filling in the gap there. I'm not 100% sure or not, but I know a lot of the other students that I was dealing with in the HTM program were first gen college students. And I didn't care if in the middle of my day I had to stop paperwork to just sit and chill and talk to them about the most random of topics. It didn't have to be about anything related to school. And I think a lot of people don't realize that is going to be such an important skill set to have as a professor for first generation college students, because we're going to see more of them, and not just more first gen college students in general, but more first gen college students of color. And they're built different, right? We are built different as individuals, and people need to understand that spectrum. So
This part gives me goosebumps because what you said is exactly what I did when I became a student inside of CS department. This is where it sits at home. I had my department chair when I was a student was Dr. Mullen. Then the person who I looked up to the most was Dr. Mullen, Dr. Balagan. So yeah, answer too many questions. Yeah, look, I'm still surprised. I
I'm
still
still,
brag about that.
bro. I'm still sitting here going, "What professor complains about that, man? That's crazy."
Look, I've had a story for days of me in the class. I got kicked out for looking at my phone 1 minute before the end of class. And that was the same professor. I promise you. That was the second time I got kicked out. But for me, Dr. Mullen and Dr. Balagan, both of the biggest influential people I've ever had to teach me in my educational history. Dr. Mullen, you could not come in her office dressed any type of way. How you doing, Mr. Greatheart? Oh, you wearing sweatpants? Please make an appointment with me and come back to my office.
Yo,
I just wanted to know, what did I miss? I came late. Well, you have to come find out another day. Make sure you send me an email. Dr. Mullen. Yes, Mr. Greatheart. But no, that was so much structure that I needed because I was, and I will agree, I was so raw at the time. I didn't know what abilities I had, but that set the tone for me because also she taught me check your emails 3 times a day. Check it first thing in the morning for the workday, check it before lunchtime, and check it before the end of the workday. If you want to be extra, check it before you go to bed. And that was one of the most influenced things she taught me because you never know what comes in your email. You might have a job opportunity, something it could be important. But with her, it was just like, okay, I gotta come back, be professional. I remember one time she was like, "What is wrong with your tie? What do you mean it doesn't go with the outfit? Oh my god! Please go back to your room." Oh man, and that walk up the hill is so long. But with Dr. Balagan, with Dr. Balagan, for him, it was just like I had the ability to sit in his office. Dr. B would just sit there and read something. He'll talk about something random. Still to this day, I remember the most shortest, most random paper ever. And I know Dr. B at the time. Dr. B knew I was horrible at writing, but I have the paper still to this day on my flash drive. I had to do a report on the 7 different types of keyboards. That might be the most dumbest thing you think about, but there are several different types of keyboards, and it's actually a proper way of how to clean the keyboard for a laptop and a desktop. Promise you, I did the most thorough research ever when I was a student, but that stuck with me because he sent me in his office and he told me to look up random things. I'm like, he's like, you want to do something? I'm like, yeah. All right, read this, come back tomorrow. Why is this important? Read it, come back tomorrow. But it's that small talk conversation within your field or being an adult or say, hey, you want to get something to eat? Yeah, you want to be someone in your field to figure out how that develop. And that's the strong thing about developing somebody in their field because my first 2 years, I had students sit in my office for no reason. Why are y'all here for? Oh, I just want to know what do I need to know about scholarships? Why are y'all here? There's a professor down the hall who's been here for 10 years. Why are you asking me these questions? I didn't realize that I made the environment more comfortable for students because at the end of the day, like you said earlier, a student doesn't want to be around a professor who feel like they're holier than thou. I've been here for 25 years. I'm tenured. If the students don't like you, that doesn't mean nothing. I mean, for what? But to me, it's just that relationship, whether it's small or big, whether you tell them to go read that paper about typing a keyboard. Like for me, that's still the most influential thing is the keyboard paper. I know exactly where that file is. I'll pull it up right now. But it's small things like that because at the end of the day, that professor bond with the student, even though you don't have to have it, just teach the student, they learn. It helps out because hey, I need to check my email 3 times a day. That still sticks with me because I actually got a job one day because I checked my email at the right time. And my first job, no lie, I got hired at 2 jobs in the same day. AT&T hired me and A&T hired me the same day when I checked my email before I went to New York to go to a funeral. The boss at AT&T called me and said, hey, you're hired. 5 minutes later, the other boss at A&T called me. They both sent me emails that call me. Mind you, I was going to a funeral. I'm checking my phone because I had to go to a funeral in New York. So I checked my phone before I hit the road. I'm like, oh my God, do I really have 2 emails back to back saying I'm hired? I'm looking at my grandfather like, because we're going to New York, going to a funeral, so everyone's sad. I'm sitting here psyched, like, I got 2 job offers in my email. Like, mind you, I just graduated college, so I was in that 4-month span trying to find a career while going to grad school. So I was like, hey, it's 9:30 in the morning. I got good news going to a funeral. I got 2 job offers. So I'm like, oh my God. But if I didn't remember that checking my email first thing in the morning, the small stuff my professor told me, I wouldn't have been, so keen to remember small stuff like that. So that relationship, even my professor telling me, hey, get a professional photo, LinkedIn, watch what you say on social media, watch how you dress, watch what you type. Small stuff like that I learned, but it's sitting in the office. So having a clean profile, having the proper attire. So the only thing I had to wear like my whole like sophomore year was the deacon suit I had for going to church. I didn't know it was important to have polos. I didn't know it was important
The
to have the
deacons.
slacks. So yeah, just the all black suit, the white shirt, and the
Yeah.
black tie. Just now I have like 15 different polos. I have like 5 different color slacks. Like I know the importance of it now. Like, hey, you should always have a white shirt ready. You should at least have 3 on standby because you never know the next event. Make sure you hang up your shirt because you might have an event coming up soon. I'll be fine. Hey, we need you to speak at this event. Where's that white shirt at again? Wait a minute. I need to find
Well,
it. But
it's funny you say
these,
that. That is so
go
funny
ahead,
because I tell
yeah.
the students all the time, hey, once you get your own office, always have a backup shirt or a backup outfit because if you go to lunch, right, and you spill something on yourself and you got that important meeting later on, in my office, I have a shirt hanging on the back of my office door
Mm-hmm.
just in case. I have a backup tie
Yes.
just in case, right? So
Mm-hmm.
those are things that I learned over time that I'm able to pass on, but I learned it in college, right? And I know a
Soft
lot of people are
skills.
like, yeah, it's something I learned in college. But I want to ask you this question: if you can give a first generation college student, actually, before I get to that, are you going to be the first in your family to be referred to as Dr. Greatheart?
The first and only.
That's dope, bro. That is awesome. That is awesome. I'm so excited. I'm so excited, and I'm looking forward to when you send that announcement out, and you're like, "Hey, it's official. I'm getting hooded." I can't wait. I'm one of your biggest cheerleaders because I got so much respect for you, man. You're going to do so many
Thank
great
you.
things.
Thank you.
But if you 3 pieces of advice, what 3 pieces of advice would you give to a first gen college student if they came to you and they said, Dr. Greatheart, what should I do to be successful in college? What are 3 things that you might tell them to do? And I know this is putting you a little bit on the spot, but
Mm-mm.
I just think that you have a lot of good insight and information that this could be passed on to so many students that are going to be first generation college students.
Take your time. You might need 5 years. You might need 7 years. You might need 2. You might need 3. Everyone grows at a different time in life. And the reason why that's so important, when I was at college, everyone grows. It can be whether it's maturity, it can be whether it's in person and career. Um, I have friends right now. I promise you make a good 100K. I don't need 100K to be happy. I love what I do right now. I never feel like I go to work. I enjoy talking to students. I love giving them knowledge. The reason why I say take time to grow and don't compare yourself is because at the end of the day, I see people who blossom in college, and I've been out for almost about a good 6, 7 years now. They're a flop, and not to talk down about them, but your process and your growth only depends on you. Somebody's not going to hold your hand the whole way. You have to mature and grow and develop at your own given time. Don't sit here and try to blossom at everyone else's rate, because if you told me after I graduated from Livingstone I was going to be a college professor 3 years later almost, okay, you're crazy. I can barely write. Okay, I'm not going to be a college professor, but give yourself time to develop and grow. Don't compare yourself. Another thing is talk to everyone you know. Like, say hello, be polite. And the reason is because you never know what situation or opportunity you can talk yourself into. And the reason why I say that is because you don't know the next person you sit beside. Like Joel said right there in the comments, the best professor I ever had in college refuses to wear a tie. Um, I know several people like that. They will never wear a tie. Not saying they'll look bummy or the best dress, but once you get to that accolade, you don't have to do this no more. Like the person I respect the most at work doesn't do it no more, only because he's been there, he's done that. So he's willing to text, he's willing to teach the next generation. So open the doors, talk to people, have conversations. Go on lunch with somebody, just talk to anybody feel like you want to have a conversation with, only because you never know the opportunity to experience. We talked about Texas. We didn't know we almost ran across the same streets in New York at one time, because you never know what you might find out from networking or meeting the next person. And it's always so important, because I remember this is funny. I was with my mother one time. We was in Las Vegas, Nevada, and I was at a bar and I was drinking, and this lady came and said, "Hey, how you doing? Hey, how you doing?" So we had a little cordial conversation, and come to find out, I go to school in Florida, right? Um, her sister-in-law actually does an Airbnb in Florida right by my school. So when I go to school down there, she typically charges $120. She only charges me $40. That's it. And 120 and $40 is a big difference for a
Big
nice
difference.
Airbnb
Yeah.
in Florida for 4 to 5 days. So I was like, oh my God. So you never know. And plus, you never know what somebody does, because, like I said, like Joel said too, the professors, the people who hire you up, once they up there, they're kind of lazy. Not lazy, but they don't want to dress all high class no more. You might meet them all having a random conversation at a random location. Like, I've met some of the most out outstanding people in the most awkward places ever. I was sitting down one day. I was like, "Hey, I'm in school." Oh, well, I'm the chair. Air Force One, some jeans, a decent looking shirt. I'm like, "Oh, you're a chair." I'm not used to meeting a chair looking like chair. It's all dapper. No, I'm at the bar at Nova. Across the street, talking to a whole professor. He's like, "Yeah, I want to teach once a week." Oh, okay. It's nice to meet you. Don't worry, I'm gonna buy you a drink anyway. You want anything else? Yeah. But yeah, you gotta be mindful. Just talk to anyone. Um, the last thing I want to say is, and this is the biggest thing too, be careful who you surround yourself by, because the closest 5 people are going to be your influencers, or even your closest 10 or 15 is going to influence of how you operate, how you maneuver, how you navigate through life. Um, I'm mindful about the people I have around me, the selection of people, my friends and my peers, because I can't go hang out in the streets with friends who are reckless. I can't go out with people who want to start a fight. I can't go out with people who are known to do X, Y, and Z, because I have a reputation. I have somewhere to be in life. If I hang around someone who has like 5 drug charges, I'm not going to be that person who gets a drug charge because I'm hanging around them. The company you keep is so important for your next phase of life, even the next 10 years. People come and go, but the people who you hang out with on a daily basis, the conversations you have, is so important, because they can either help stimulate your mind or sit there and take you in the wrong direction. Um, I have a lot of people who I talk to for conversations, and I have a lot of friends, but there are certain people I have friends to talk to about certain things. Like, hey, I want to get a house this year. Are you ready for a house? I got the money, but are you ready? Do you have that time to sit down and do that foundation? Do you need to wait? Do you need to save more money? Do you have money for repairs? No, I don't got money for the house. Do you wait? So you want to go out the country next week, but do you have money to pay the bills in the month?
Yeah.
I want to go. Yeah, but when you get back, do you have money? I can struggle. No, no, no. That you're an adult. You need to do better than that. Hey, I want to go out. It's Friday. It's not the right time, so you need to do that homework. But I can do it later. You're gonna be drunk, aren't you? Yeah, but no, no, no. Sit at home. Like these people that you surround yourself by. When I was at Livingstone, I'm so serious. I was in a relationship. The relationship I was in at that time, she would help me do my homework after football. Like after the games, we'll eat dinner, she'll cook, and she would help me with my homework. And I'm so serious. Like that is development there because the people who are around you is going to guide you the right direction. They're not going to steer you wrong. They're going to make sure you're good. The people I grew up with, my friends still to this day, people I grew up with, Delshawn and Demario, I love them to death. I miss hanging out with them on the weekends. All we do is play Call of Duty and eat pizza. We wouldn't do anything else. Like, and I still think about it to this day, like, wow, I miss the good old days, the weekends, video games and pizza. That's it. We wouldn't leave all weekend, just play video games. And it's just small stuff like that. So if you find the right people to hang out with, you won't get in trouble. You'll grow. You'll prosper. Because if you look at the closest 5 people around you, they're a reflection of who you are as an individual. When it comes to professional life, decisions about life. I have a friend who's real close to me. Hey, you want to go out to the bar? Yeah, we at the bar. We having real life in-depth conversations. I remember we was at the bar not too long ago. We like, yo, what we do next in our lives for the next 10 years is going to affect the next 10 years of life. So what we do right now, we got to think about what we're doing, every action, every move. So yeah, it's real. The people who you select.
So I love how you put it. You said, I'm listening to this woke playing MLB the show. that's, that's my man. Joel, thank you so much for that. Damien, going into this last segment, right, is called the Rant and Rave with Dave. Um, thank you so much for your in-depth answer for the 3 components that you would share. But I want to give you an opportunity if you want to share any other thoughts with anything regarding what could possibly help or be influential to first generation college students.
Find a mentor, find somebody to talk to, find somebody who you can get all this stress out. Don't go to a upper or a downer. Don't go to a drug or don't go to alcoholism or don't go. Find a person, find a thing like working out, reading a book. To me, video games. If I'm having a rough day or rough week, video games 2 hours, I've solved the problem. But the reason why this is important is because you never know if you take the wrong thing or do the wrong thing, how much you can be addicted to it. People think addiction is something, it can kill you. No, addiction can be being on TikTok for 2 hours straight for no reason. Now you lost 2 hours of your life. Find a real outlet. Find someone who can listen to you, a stressor. Get the things out. Whether it's working out, whether it's cooking, whether it's eating healthy, healthy habits in life will make you go, so much farther. For me, like I said, I played football for 4 years, so that was the structure I needed for the rest of my life. My grandfather, who raised me, even said ever since I was a kid, hey, 6 o'clock, get up. You already know it's time for school. Even to this day, my grandfather still wakes up at 5:30 in the morning. He's 92 years old, about to be 93. He wakes up at 5:30 in the morning. Hey, I got the day started. I get out of bed. I still wake up at 5:30 in the morning. I'm on summer break for no reason, just up. Either I'm up listening to motivational speech, reading a book, or doing something productive because at the end of the day, I can relax, but the day goes on. I gotta be productive one way or another. So find something to do, take your time with everything you do in life. Um, just make sure you're happy at the end of the day because at the end of the day, your happiness is your own responsibility. Don't blame Susie, Billy, or whoever, however or whatever makes you happy at the end of the day, do it. Don't go out here and get $100,000 degree or $100,000 career and you don't love what you're doing. I know people who cut grass for a living. That's all they love to do. I did it as a kid. I love to do it on Fridays because I knew after Friday, later on that night, I'm going to the drive-in movies. Do what you love to do. Don't go out there and work for a check that you're not going to love at the end of the day. Like I said, I have friends who work and make $100,000 but don't have time to spend their money or don't have time in general. They're not happy. Do what you love to do. Don't chase the money. Don't chase the bag. Chase your happiness in your career, your family, your friends, and success. If you love what you're doing, it's going to find you. That money bag is going to find you one way or another. It doesn't make no sense to work a job and be stressed out and lose your health at the end of the day. I promise you, there's enough stress in society, in the world. Do what makes you happy. Don't let outside forces, mess you up at the end of the day. Okay, that's all I got on my rant right there.
Oh man, no, that was good stuff, man. Thank you so much. And I really appreciate you being on, man. Thank you so much. This was a great conversation. I enjoyed it so much. Looking forward to maybe us connecting again and talking again
Look,
down
I
the
can't
line.
wait.
Um, and tonight, before I go, I just want to remind everybody that this weekend is a very important couple of events going on. The first thing we got is Juneteenth. It is the day, right, that Black individuals were given the opportunity to be free. And let's pay attention. Wasn't totally free, right? So let's go ahead and make sure that we know our history, pay attention to what's going out there. If you don't know much about Juneteenth, here's an opportunity, as Damien said, go ahead and read a book. Maybe get with some people, have some conversations about it so you can find out what Juneteenth was really about. And the second thing, I want to give big love to my fathers out there, but not just to the fathers, those who serve as father figures. There's a lot of individuals in this world who would not be where they're at today without the positive, influential father figures that they've had. So I want to wish all the dads out there and all the father figures a happy Father's Day. That concludes this episode of Roll the Dice with Dave. I hope everybody got something great out of this conversation. I know I did. Damien, it's always a pleasure to speak with you.
Oh, I have a question.
Oh, yeah, sure, man.
I'm sorry to cut you off. Is there any way I could just say some I guess a quick shout out real quick, because I do.
Oh, yeah, definitely, man. Always, man. Take advantage of the platform, brother.
I have to thank my dad, my mom, really, because those two was very influential. But between my dad and my grandfather, those were the two biggest influencers I've had in life. The reason why my dad and my father, because they woke up every morning and they had to go do what they had to do as men. So to them too, I thank them the most for being a ideal father figure and man. There's this football coach named Patrick Clark. If it wasn't for him, I would have never got out of high school to college. I gotta thank him. I never had the chance to thank him, but I will one day, like on everything I love. If it wasn't for him, I would have never made it to college. My frat brothers, also my line brothers, I gotta thank them all day, because John Thomas III, Daquan Dodd, and Jarrell Gaynor, they have gave me the most the best times and the worst times of college. But without them, I promise you, my college experience would have been crazy, would have been trash. Daquan Dodd, who's stayed up with me multiple nights, who's watched me cry on the couch, who's watched me spaz out for no reason, doing my PhD homework. I gotta thank him. I gotta thank Jessica Sanders for helping me with my homework when I was at Livingstone, because I do know I would never did it without her. I gotta thank my boy David Hausman for real, because honestly, we talk so much, having good conversations. I gotta thank Sharice Hughes. I don't know if she's still watching, but she is a great mentor for me, because I'll be zoned out sometimes at work, and she'll snap me back and I'm like, I'm ready to quit. No, you're not. You need to vent. I gotta think the last two people I have to think is Dr. Balagan and Dr. Marlon, because these two people here have been the biggest influencers and for me and academics ever. Because for me, they set the tone so high. It's been like, oh my God, how do I get to that point? Because it's like whenever you see somebody at the end of that point, we never look at the journey. We always look at that point like, wait, they're here, but how did they get here? Like I said before, it's very rare we get people to really reveal their weak points. Like, hey, I was acting on probation, but you're a chair. I was a student before too, so
that's right, man.
I've got to, because at the end of the day, like, these individuals has helped me influence myself as an individual so far in life, and it's helped me out to be this 30-year-old right now. So I gotta thank all these people. So how to get that out there right now. That's all. So I had to say that.
Man. That's awesome, man. I tell you, that's awesome. And I'm glad you did that. It shows that we all need help. We're not in this by ourselves. We need help. So this is an important thing for people to see, because you also mentioned another point. A lot of people see the end point and success. They don't see the work and the journey that goes into it.
Definitely.
So thank you so much for mentioning that. But again, man, I hope you have a great rest of your week. I hope you have a great weekend. And I'm looking forward to staying in contact. And like I said, I'm a big fan. You're going to do great things. And I can't wait to see when you make that official announcement with the Dr. Greatheart, man. I tell you, I'm excited.
Thank you. I will make sure I'll watch the Cruella Deville video.
Cruella Deville. You got to.
1,000 makes. I gotta see it now, because I really want to see your viewpoint. I gotta come back and do a part 2, because I gotta watch it.
I'm telling you, but we'll definitely get together and do a part 2, man. This conversation was great. Thank you so much, and I hope everybody has a good night. And see you soon on Roll the Dice with Dave.
Thank you so much. Y'all have a great evening as well too. Thank you.